What's up, everybody? Wanted to talk today about why people should get into Mace and club training. So, there's a lot of people out there, obviously, that don't know about maces and clubs, and they don't know the massive benefits that there are. Um, and, you know, a lot of people with shoulder problems, a lot of people with like grip problems, a lot of people with tricep and elbow tendon issues. And in all reality, swinging a steel mace and a steel club can alleviate probably all of those problems. And it's the benefits of the mace. I mean, we always call it a mobility and durability tool first, and then kind of a strength and conditioning tool, because it's got to sort your problems out first before you can really start to add weight and start to you know, build into the strength and conditioning aspect that it can provide. We've had countless people send us messages and phone calls about how they're struggling with shoulder issues. One guy was saying the doctor told him he needed surgery, but he got into Mason club training, got one of our maces, so he's able to start super light, and eventually was able to absolve the issue he had in his shoulder, and he didn't need to get surgery, which is pretty crazy. And we've had another guy that had, just as he described, a locked shoulder. He said he couldn't raise it above his hand above his shoulder, so he was having a really hard time with that reality, not being able to lift his kids up, not being able to lift his future grandkids up. And kind of the same thing with the other guy. He got one of our maces, studied a lot of stuff about mace training, started swinging it really, really light, and eventually added some weight to it, and eventually restored complete mobility into his shoulder, which obviously is an incredible thing. And we all know how modern medicine can be these days. Not a lot of cures to be pushed by people, especially something that you can come up with relatively simply on your own, or you can buy something really nice like the maces we sell and make. There's endless benefits to this style of training. My story, I had tricep issues. I'd been using foam rollers and an arm aid and all sorts of stuff to try to alleviate this tightness and these tingy kind of pains I was getting in my left tricep from kettlebell sport training. And I couldn't get anything to fix it until I started swinging a mace around, and just that active stretch and pull, it alleviated it completely. And I'll feel that once every 8 months, once a year maybe, kind of that tingy pain coming back. And what I do is I just move into some lightweight swings, some high reps, really look at it like through a therapeutic lens, and it gets rid of it almost instantly every time. So there's a lot of aspects to this type of training that only complement other forms of training. There isn't anything out there that you could do that swinging a mace would hinder. Obviously, you could overtrain with it. That's all up to the programming you use, which is kind of the way we at CK like to use it, as the last thing you do during your session, just kind of not necessarily a finisher, but once you're all pumped up, fatigued, that way you're not loading max weight on the mace, and then you just run your whole upper body through some swings, and it just stretches everything, it pumps up everything, it does a whole bunch of good stuff for you, and will help keep your shoulders healthy, it'll help keep your elbows healthy. It's obviously super good for your hand strength and your proprioception. So just right there, I don't think there's anyone that can argue against it, especially, if you see some, especially stronger dudes that have a lot of upper body strength. They've been doing tons and tons of heavy pressing for years and years and years. You get them to hold a mace and they can't even get their hands behind their head, which, not that that's necessarily bad, but it can't be great. So some time with the mace would alleviate that, and they'd get a better range of motion, be able to get their hands back behind their head comfortably without any strain. And then you're just going to be safer in future pressing and pulling and all that other stuff. Your tendons will be stronger, your triceps will be more mobile, your shoulders will be more mobile. So there's endless benefits to it. So if you haven't tried it yet, you really need to. And I obviously recommend the CK MaceWorks Mace and Club because the loadability of it is endless, and you can adjust your weights and your densities of weights in whatever way you feel like, and then you can create kind of unlimited maces all through one handle. So that's kind of what I wanted to say about that. Let us know if you have any thoughts on that down in the comments, and we'll catch you on the next video.